I saw a recent survey that said 92% of Democrats and 86 or 88% of Republicans believe that the federal prohibition on cannabis is wrong, it's dumb, it shouldn't be there. Why is this still illegal? While alcohol, extremely unhealthy food, and things like sugary sodas, those are just fine. We don't want to regulate them away. People want to make bad decisions for themselves, make themselves unhealthy. We're going to let them. But yet this thing that makes amazing textiles, that treats so many different diseases, you can't even imagine how useful a THC CBD cream is rubbing it on your skin, non-transdermal. It doesn't go into your blood. It doesn't get you high. It just takes away pain and inflammation through the either CB1 or CB2 receptors in your skin. This stuff fixes cerebral palsy. It helps cerebral palsy. This is a way better option for textiles, even biofuels, than anything else out there. I'm currently in a state where conceal and carry doesn't need any sort of license or anything. Anybody can just go out, get a gun, carry it around concealed. I don't have anything to say one way or the other on that right now, but what I can tell you is this state sees liberty tied to guns in a very serious way. But yet, we're going to allow politicians to tell us not to grow a plant in the ground, a plant that the God you probably believe in provided, but yet we're going to allow people to poison themselves socially every single day with one of the absolute worst chemicals, alcohol. I see not only myself, but pretty much everybody I know who consumes alcohol more than once in a random blue moon, they've consumed more and more over time. And it is more unhealthy than just filling your face with wedding cake. It is more damaging than anything I can think of, yet it's completely socially accepted. And I'm not saying that we should take that away, but why the heck would we prevent people from accessing something that is far, far less damaging in any and every way possible? That doesn't mean that I think people under the age of 21 should subscribe to the use of cannabis. I'm not trying to convince anybody to consume it. I do believe the research that says it can affect brain development up until age 25. My first experiences with it, I was almost 30 years old, and it was an alternative to anti-anxiety medication that the doctor thought I needed. And as soon as I took it, I was like, wow, this is really bad news. I don't want this in my body. And I'm glad that I got away from that. It was a benzodiazepine called Klonopin, I think clonazepam. I think that's some real serious stuff. I could just tell that it would have been bad news if I consumed it the way they wanted me to. And it wasn't necessary. They want to medicate everything away in prescriptions and not allow people to fix their problems. I don't want to say not allow. I think the doctor can have an impact by prescribing something. If they say, hey, you need to work out more, you need to eat different, that's leaving it up to the person. And sadly, most people just can't get away from seeking pleasure and instant gratification from things like food and alcohol. So alcohol definitely developed in my life to go from something that was fun and exciting when I was little, sadly, by the end of high school and into college. Cannabis wasn't around at that time, and there was a lot of binge drinking. But it wasn't a habitual thing, it was just for fun. And then years later, around the time that the doctor wanted to prescribe me anti-anxiety medications, I found that just to escape from the lack of fulfillment I had in my life, I would play a video game and drink a 6-pack of beer. And then over the years, that developed into utilizing alcohol to cope with many challenging moments and emotions in my life. I come from a family who has no alcohol addiction problems that I'm aware of, nowhere close to me. So I didn't see the bad parts of what it can do to a person in their life over extended use. Now, I don't think that cannabis is completely without harm. It can diminish a person's cognitive ability. Too much of a good thing is bad with almost anything. Too early of an age, it can cause problems. But on the level of harmful to society, cannabis is down here at like I mean, it's about a 0 because it has a lot of positive effects and it's got some negatives. Alcohol is past 10. Nobody's getting high, getting in physical altercations with their wives or kids or at a bar. Very few people are getting high and causing high-speed wrecks. Not saying that it doesn't happen or that people should be high behind the wheel, but it is less spiritually diminishing to society. If everybody in society went out and consumed cannabis instead of alcohol, I promise things would be so much different. And why is it really illegal? One of the other great videos I would like to refer you to, and this is old, this is before the state prohibitions had really ended, but it's called The Union. It was available on YouTube years ago, last time I saw it. I think it was on Netflix maybe too. And this explains all of the different industries and entities who benefit from the prohibition, most of which also have millions, if not billions of dollars to put into politics, to use our supposedly democratic system to get our elected officials to go against the will of those 86 or 88% of Republicans and 92% of Democrats to pursue a selfish purpose to benefit their campaign contributors versus their constituents. What are those industries? The cotton industry. Think about how much of a threat a more sustainable, higher producing, lower cost material is than cotton. Pharmaceutical industry, big pharma. These guys, as much as they do things that can help us, they're not there for our good. They are there for pure profit. Do some research. Learn about how they take and change their patents, not to make a more effective, better medicine, just to make profit. Privately owned, state-contracted, for-profit prisons, which did not get reduced or eliminated by this regulation that was done under Biden a year or two ago to cut that tie of federal funds to federal prisons for cannabis infractions. Nobody's going to federal prison over cannabis. So that really didn't do anything. So the state politicians are having their pockets lined by privately owned for-profit prisons who are literally harvesting people's freedom for their own profit because a person did something that had no harm. Does that feel like America to you? Does that truly feel like the right thing or the best thing to rob people of liberty over something that has many good benefits and the harms are far less substantial than just 12 packs of sugary soda that people could consume on a daily basis? Far less damaging than white bread people consume on a daily basis. Far less damaging than the poison that is alcohol. Now, I hope you never get to the point where you recognize alcohol as a problem, or I hope you never get to the point where alcohol is a true problem. But if you think it might be, it probably is. If you're having more than 1 or 2 drinks a week at the most, it's probably a problem. I've learned to enjoy sobriety both from alcohol and cannabis. And to me now, cannabis is more like, it's like an herbal tea that you take one glass of. You have a few puffs. You have a couple sips of your tea. You chill out for a moment, and you get on with what you're doing. Alcohol has never been like that for anybody, anywhere, ever. So my mission is adventure, kindness, and wellness, and I see cannabis, in many cases, lending to wellness, in many cases, lending to kindness, and definitely a substantially less harmful and far less addictive substance than alcohol. So when you're getting tied up in all the different politics on the right and the left, why don't we start asking our politicians? I've seen pretty far right-wing politicians that are pro-cannabis. I've seen far left-wing politicians that are pro-cannabis, but yet they're not supporting the will of the people, which, I mean, to me, I think these two parties are a complete and total joke, and all they do is sell the most diminished, viewpoint to the lowest common denominator while disregarding all the nuance and details in reality. I know that in my lifetime, the internet and the ability for us to gather on the internet will allow us to get away from this disgusting, despicable, ineffective, stupid two-party system that currently turns neighbors, friends, and family into enemies. That's not what my life's about. That's not what I believe this country's about. And when we can have politicians who actually pursue the will of the people versus try to sell the people their BS while removing 99% of the nuance and complexities of any situation, when our politicians support us instead of sell us their crap and get us to support them, things like cannabis, of course, they will no longer rob us of our liberty. Whether you believe guns are liberty or pro-life is liberty, those are two opposite sides of the spectrum that have been lumped in together on one side or the other. Well, guess what? Both sides can agree that prohibition on cannabis is prohibition on liberty. So, guys, put down the drinks. Go get healthy. So put down the drinks. Go get healthy. I'm not saying that you should consume cannabis, but I am saying you should be a fan of liberty. I'm not saying that you should consume cannabis, but I am saying that every single person in the United States of America should be fans of liberty and support that over any stupid politician or their self-serving goals.